So that night, basically, I can tell you now, any athlete, you will not sleep. You will be waking up every 10, 15 minutes, and that's okay. It's just energy, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're nervous. You're just, the adrenaline's going in your body. And before you know it, it'll be 5 in the morning and you're getting up, you're getting your meal in yourself, a couple bananas, a power bar, some sports drink. You go out to the transition area and there's all these other people awake and you're thinking, 5 in the morning, what are all these people doing? Well, you gotta line up, you get your body marked up, you go into the transition area, you check your bike, everybody's getting ready, there's a huge lineup for the porta potty, everybody's just doing their last minute stretches, that type of thing. Then you start walking out to the beach. It's really exciting. You're with the pros and all these other athletes and the energy is incredible. It's not nervous anymore. Now it's a positive energy, and I find that actually everybody is really relaxed until the pros go, because there's a little cannon that goes off and they leave about 15 minutes early. When that goes, people know it's about to start, and because the swim is a little bit rough, I start to get nervous. There's a huge crowd on Lakeshore Drive cheering. Then they start cranking up the music, and before you know it, they're playing Ironman from Black Sabbath, and if that's not motivation, I don't know what is. And then bang, cannon, and you're going. And it is crowded, and it is like a washing machine of swimmers and arms and legs, and getting your goggles knocked off and water in your goggles and people grabbing your feet, and not purposely, of course, because they wouldn't do that purposely, but you know, you're anticipating this about to start. I tried to find friendly people to stand next to, so I knew when I got in the water they wouldn't be as aggressive, but you simply can't avoid it. If you're gonna do an Ironman, you're gonna get in that swim, and people are gonna be aggressive. They got their head down and they're not looking where they're swimming, and they're gonna swim over top of you, and that's gonna happen. So you gotta be calm, and if you swallow a bit of water, don't worry about it. Get your head out of water, relax, and get back into your rhythm. I do mostly swimming with my arms and try not to kick that much. Now that slows me down a lot, but it saves my legs for the bike. The swim is so short, well, not really so short, but it's so short compared to the other segments that you really don't want to use a lot of energy. You don't want to come out of the water tired. Be ready for that transition. Swim as far as you can when you're coming into the thing. Try not to start walking too early, because again, you're wasting your legs. Trying to walk through water is pointless. Swim until your hands are actually touching the ground. Because again, you're not the pro. You're not gonna, every second doesn't count in the swim, but tiring your muscles out will really, really hurt you on the bike and the run eventually. So after the swim, you're gonna pull in the transition area. You run up, people get you to lay on the ground and they pull your wetsuit out for you. Then they see your number and they call for someone to grab your bag. This is the bag that has all your bike gear. They'll run off, grab the bag for you, bring it back within seconds, and you run to the tent. You quickly get changed or you take your time. People try and save all this time during transition, but when you're out there for 12 hours, 3 minutes to 5 minutes really doesn't matter. Make sure you have all your gear, make sure you get sunscreen on, and make sure you put Vaseline on if you need to. Take your time, because if you rush that section, yeah, you might suffer on the bike. You might forget your power bar or your chocolate bar or whatever you wanted to bring out there. So once you start on the bike, Penticton in particular is a very fast start, but most starts are fast just because people are excited to get on the bike, and there's a lot of, I would say, drafting and crowd, so you have to be ready for that. And don't go too fast if that's not part of your thing. If you're not a fast biker, don't try and keep up with everybody. Go your pace. Though I'm not a fast biker, on the flats and the early sections without wind, that's where I wanted to push the bike. I also wanted to push the bike in the hills. So in the first 40 kilometers, yeah, I was going very fast. There's a bit of tailwind, you know, you're getting up to 40, 50 kilometers an hour before you get to the hills. And yeah, again, you want to be careful not to burn out. The hills themselves, the bigger you are, the more you're going to suffer. So that's why you train for things like Cypress Mountain, so you know what to expect. Again, go your own pace. Don't burn out, especially on the early hills, because it'll hurt you in the end and it'll also hurt you on the run. There's always time in the run to make up time. The run is the longest part of the event time-wise. Bike is the longest in distance, of course. Best thing about Ironman is the support. In every town, or even out in the middle of nowhere, sometimes you have groups of people cheering, but especially on the hills. The hills are lined with people, and they're out there for hours cheering people on, and it really pumps you up. It's noisy, actually. You can't hear, like I was telling people, you know, I wanted to pass on the left, and they couldn't hear me, but yeah, it pumps you up before you finish the bike. Near the end, you hit a lot of hills, and you know, coming into Penticton, it's mostly downhill and you really hit some high speeds, so just be careful. Start thinking about the run, and you don't want to drink too much near the end of the bike, because you'll start running and you got a stomach full of Gatorade. You don't want that. I would say, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour before your run, stop the liquids and stop eating for a bit. So when you're coming into Penticton and you come into the bike transition, again, the volunteers are right there. They grab your bike and they put it away. You go to the next section, again, someone runs and grabs your bag. That has your shoes and Vaseline and whatever you need for the run. They get it for you, you go to the tent, get changed, put on your sunscreen, get your sunglasses, wear a hat, you have to wear a hat, and just make sure your shoes are tied properly. A lot of people will be walking at this point. Just keep moving, walking is fine. You know, you're out there to finish it, you're not there to beat the pros. The pros are probably gonna be finished by the time you're starting the run, so don't even think about that. Don't worry about people passing you. Focus on, keep moving, that's all you have to do for the run. Make sure you get proper nutrition. If it's hot, get lots of liquids. Going into the final stretch, all you see is people and they're cheering. And yes, you get pumped up and yes, you try and speed up to whatever speed you can. But by that point, you've made it, so don't push yourself to injury or anything like that. When I was running down Lakeshore Drive, my sister was about halfway up and she started running, and I guess she was excited, so she was running fast and I was trying to keep up with her, and I was like, wow, I almost burnt myself out for the last bit, for the last kilometer. So I slowed right down and said, okay, wait till I get to the final turnaround. So I know I got 500 meters, and then, yeah, I pushed it a little bit and ran in kind of strong, but don't worry about it, you've made it at that point. Some people do collapse at the finish line, it happens. It's a huge toll on your body. Some people have no quit. It doesn't matter what time they come in. They can come in at 11 hours, they can come in at 15, but they're pushing their body right to the limits. And so there is staff there to check on you. There's doctors at the finish line, and you know, they take a quick look at you and sort of say, okay, are you all right? And oh yeah, they can tell the ones that aren't, so they'll have a wheelchair there if you need it. And often you'll see people running hand in hand with their children or their wives or husbands. And that's a part of Ironman that makes it special, because, you know, in other races and marathons and stuff, that's all closed off to the families. And this is what really makes it personal, because it's such an accomplishment that you can share with other people. And this is not something that is taken lightly. Your family had to go through all your training months, and they know all the frustrations. They did the Ironman as much as you did it, so they deserve to go through that line too. And that's one of the great things about Ironman, and I just felt awesome. It was just great. It's hard to explain, and it's not, again, at that point when you cross the line and people say, oh, well, you know, you've run over 12 hours, why didn't you try and get under? And I was like, I made it, I did it, and that's all I cared about. And you know, after that, you walk out and there's a great area of food and drinks and all that, and so yeah, pile on the calories then. My dad had a Heineken on ice for me. It was great seeing all my family there. We picked up my bike and we went back to the hotel and ordered a pizza. It was great, and I couldn't sleep that night. I just felt awesome. So for those who don't want to do an Ironman, that's okay. You know what? The best part of the event is going to see the event, and I highly recommend going to watch it. It's in Penticton every year in the end of August.